sir.
Am I clearly audible and visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So far we have been discussing about the Shivaji and Mughal relation. We started from the beginning, and in between there had been a lot of gap. When Aurangzeb was Subedar of Deccan, that time itself they came in contact. And Aurangzeb understood that Shivaji is a very ambitious, clever, and capable person. Though he left for India and then later on became emperor, but he tried to subdue Shivaji and somehow to finish him off. And for that purpose, he sent Shaista Khan. But we know that this we already discussed how suddenly Shivaji knew that he cannot stand against front to front conflict with the Mughal because Mughals were much more powerful. So he suddenly on one night surprised Shaista Khan, and Shaista Khan has to run away. And then Shivaji sacked Surat. So this was another insult apart from Shaista Khan sacking of Surat was another insult which we have discussed. And then as this has angered Aurangzeb, Aurangzeb sent his very capable commander Mirza Raja Jai Singh, the ruler of Amber and one of the important Mansabdar of Shivaji. And along with him also came Diler Khan and Jaswant Singh. And these three people, this is what we have discussed in the last class, which many of you have missed. So I'll just sum up in short. So, Jai Singh, as he was very capable, very experienced general, he studied the situation and he knew now where to strike. And he chose his attack, he chose to strike at the fort called Purandar. Purandar was very close to Pune, and on Purandar, many Maratha families, many Marathas have kept their families, and so that Purandar was, it was surrounded. Jai Singh ensured that no help will reach to Purandar, and Purandar was attacked by Diler Khan, and Jai Singh also moved very close to Purandar. At the same time, Jai Singh sent army Mughal contingent at the different places to burn Shivaji's area. Now, this is the first time in his life that Shivaji was really placed on his back foot. And having seen that there cannot be any escape, we cannot have an upper hand against Jai Singh, he chose to negotiate. He he sent his representative. Jai Singh, even he had a very strict instruction to finish off Shivaji once for all. And Jai Singh, though he initially refused to negotiate and said that Shivaji, you should surrender unconditionally, then only we will have a discussion. But at the same time, after studying the situation in Maharashtra, he communicated with Emperor Aurangzeb that we can serve if we make friendship with Shivaji that serve better purpose. And finally, Shivaji agrees to come to meet Jai Singh, and without arm he comes and meets Jai Singh. And at the same time, the war was not stopped. It was not negotiation that took place after the war. Negotiation started when the war was on, and the camp was very close to Purandar, and Jai Singh and Shivaji could watch the fight that is going on Purandar. And a large number of Marathas were being killed. Mughal were slowly closing on the Purandar fort. And Shivaji said, "This is the key. Please stop the war now. I'm giving you the key of Purandar." The key is handed over to the Mughal, and the war stops. And after that, the negotiation starts. And in that negotiation, though Jai Singh has initially was of the mind that no fort will remain with Shivaji, but finally he agrees. The 12 forts remains with Shivaji. 23 Shivaji's forts were handed over to the Mughal. He agrees to pay a lot of amount. That is called Treaty of Purandar, which we have discussed in the last class. But he was exempted from personally presenting himself to Emperor, and he was not willing to accept the Mansabdari because that will make him servant of Emperor Aurangzeb. Then, as a compromise, his young son Sambhaji, who was very young that time, I think 7 years or 10 years old, he was made as a Mansabdar of 5,000. Mansabdari is the rank in the Mughal administrative structure. The higher the Mansabdari, higher is your position. For example, 7,000 Mansabdari is higher than 5,000. Well, now he was made Mansabdar, and then Shivaji agrees to help Mughal in their further conquest of South, and that is where we will be starting today. So let's share now. Right. So these are the terms of Treaty of Purandar, which I have just now told. 23 forts of Shivaji was taken by the Mughal, and thereafter there is Shivaji will assist the Mughal. This is all. This all we discussed in the last class. Well, these are the benefits to the Mughal. This is also discussed. Well, now this is where we will be starting now. So immediately after this treaty of Purandar, Mughal and Shivaji they jointly attacks Bijapur. But this we have already discussed earlier also when we were discussing about Shivaji and Bijapur relationship. So as promised by Shivaji and Netaji Palkar, his deputy, they joined Mughal camp with 9,000 Marathas. Netaji also captured Paltan, that was the area of Bijapur and some area of Bijapur. But the Bijapur was very well prepared to repulse attack. And surprisingly, as Shivaji was fighting from the side of the Mughal against Bijapur, Shivaji's half brother Venkoji was fighting from the side of the Bijapur. He was the Bijapuri noble. And though this fight went on, Bijapur had, and they followed the scorcher tactics that this I have already explained to you in my earlier classes. That they ensured that if they're withdrawing into the Bijapur territory, the Mughals are not getting any food, fodder, even the water sources, and this has put Mughal into the lot of difficult situation. And the joint forces of Mughal and Shivaji, they were defeated by Bijapur in December 1665. And in this, though Jai Singh was having some soft corner to Shivaji, and Shivaji even appealed to his religious sentiment also, being, person of the same religion but serving under the Mughal. But Diler Khani was a person who was bent upon crushing Shivaji. Even when Purandar was given by Shivaji, Diler Khan felt upset that I got this fort after negotiation, and in that negotiation, the major credit has gone to Jai Singh. I wanted to capture this fort by force, and later on, Diler Khan will come repeatedly in our discussion his cruelty and his hatred towards Hindus, it comes out through his behavior. So Diler Khan, he did not like that Jai Singh and Shivaji they're getting along very very well, and he openly proclaimed that the result of this failure of this joint expedition against Bijapur, the responsibility lies with Shivaji. He is a treacherous person. He did not support the Mughal at the time of the requirement, and somehow the atmosphere in the Mughal camp, where Shivaji was also there, was becoming anti-Shivaji. And somehow Jai Singh feared that probably somebody out of anger may murder Shivaji, and he wanted to send him away. And Shivaji also promised that okay, Bijapur we could not conquer, but I can conquer the fort of Pannala fort, which was given by. It was a Bijapuri fort to begin with, but then Shivaji conquered it. But then later on, he was surrounded in Pannala fort. He escapes from there. That this we have already studied. Baji Prabhu Deshpande gives of his life, and that after that this Pannala fort was given back to Bijapur once again. And now Shivaji says, I'll conquer that fort once again. But somehow there seems to be kind of half-hearted attempt, or there was the luck was not in favor of Shivaji. Though it seems that in most of his expedition, luck favored him, like his daring attack on Shaista Khan, and the way he killed Abdul Khan. But here the luck not seems to be on his side, and he planned that I will surprise the fort of Pannada. Surprisingly, night I'll climb with my soldiers, and the garrison. I'll kill, I'll attack the fort and conquer that. But the garrison, the Adil Shahi Killedar of Pannada was alert, and when Shivaji and his men they suddenly attacked the fort in the night, they climbed. They found that the garrison was ready to welcome them with the swords, and a lot of fighting happened there. Nearly 1,000 Marathas they lost their life, and Shivaji has to withdraw. He was quite clever enough. He knew that there is no point in fighting the war that you are going to lose. So he surrenders to Jai Singh. Then from Pannada also he withdraw, but of course he does. carry out certain disturbances. He burns certain villages of Adil Shahi. So that is a thing he could do. And here he also developed certain differences with his deputy Netaji. Netaji Palkar was very brave, and he was even many times referred as Prati Shivaji, that is second Shivaji. But during the siege of Pannara, Shivaji was not successful, and somehow Netaji could not reach at the appointed places at time, and Shivaji scolded him and even reduced his position, and this angered Netaji Palkar. And Netaji Palkar, as he was upset with Shivaji, he leaves Shivaji's service, goes and joins with Adil Shah, and this frightened Jai Singh because Jai Singh knew that Netaji Palkar is a person who is having a significant influence on Marathas. And now, as Netaji has joined Adil Shah, if Shivaji also joins Adil Shah, probably our situation, the Mughal situation, will become pretty bad. And somehow he keeps communicating with Netaji and he lures him away from Adil Shah. He says, "You join Mughal service and I will give you high mansab." So Netaji leaves service of Adil Shah and joins Mughal now. And after that he is sent to north. He is sent to north. Then he was sent on expedition to Afghanistan also by Aurangzeb. And later on, we'll be studying that next event when Shivaji goes and meets Aurangzeb and escapes from Agra. Aurangzeb was very angry and he did not knew what is to be done, and he captures Netaji. Netaji was in fact in the service of Aurangzeb. He captures Netaji and forces him to become Muslim. And Netaji, in order to save his life, becomes Muslim. But he was very upset. Though he left Shivaji in anger, he did not like the atmosphere and that luxury of luxurious life of the Mansabdar in Mughal, as well as forcibly he was forced to become Muslim. And one fine day, seeing an opportunity, he escapes from the Mughal service. He comes back to Shivaji, and Shivaji welcomes him, and then he expresses his opinion to become Hindu once again. And then Shivaji conducts certain ceremony, and Netaji Palkar becomes Hindu once again. That is a story which doesn't have a lot of importance, but as the reference to Netaji came, I'm just referring to that story. So Netaji, he leaves Shivaji, joins Bijapur, and then at the same time, as Bijapur was attacked jointly by Shivaji on the one side and Mughal, and the war, though they suffered a setback, the war still continued. And Qutub Shah, he knew that. See, this Deccani Sultanate, Bijapur and Golconda, they knew that the Mughal and Aurangzeb particularly are imperialist, and once the Adil Shahi is over, next turn of Qutub Shahi is bound to come. So they always tried to support each other, and the Marathas, they also took the help of these Shahis depending on the situation. So Qutub Shah, he sends 50,000 soldiers to assist Bijapur, and Jai Singh now thought that it is a time to stop this expedition against Bijapur because Mughal situation is becoming bad. Netaji has shifted, and Netaji now though he comes to the Mughal, but Jai Singh now stops this expedition against Bijapur, and then he has communication with Shivaji. Now, you see, during the Treaty of Purandar, it was made clear that Shivaji is under no obligation to visit the Mughal court or to become Mansabdar. But somehow, Jai Singh convinces him that it will be better for you if you go to the court of Aurangzeb at Agra. Celebration of the 50th birthday. Aurangzeb was becoming 50 years 50th birthday he is celebrating, and on that occasion there will be a grand darbar that will be organized in Agra. All the important mansabdars and Vaisal king, they will come and visit Aurangzeb during that darbar. So you should also go and visit Aurangzeb during that darbar, and it will be beneficial to you in different ways. The thing is that it is quite possible that you might be made Subedar of Deccan, the Mughal Subedar of Deccan, and that is an important position. You can have your almost like virtual own independent kingdom with a nominal acceptance of sovereignty of the Mughal emperor. Shivaji also had in his mind, though initially he was very reluctant because Aurangzeb was a person who was known to be kind of having a deceptive behavior. He killed his own brother. First, he promised that we will will share the kingdom, but then later on he went back on his word and murdered them. he had a reputation of being a manipulative kind of person who cannot be trusted. Shivaji was not willing to go, but Jai Singh, he said that I'll take the guarantee of your safety. And Jai Singh's son Ram Singh, who was also Mansabdar in the Mughal court, he also took the guarantee of Shivaji's safety. And Shivaji also had it in his mind that as I am, if not directly through my son, I am now the friend of Mughal. The fort of Zanzira should be given to me. Now, do you remember who was holding the fort of Zanzira? Yes, yes. Anybody?
No, so I don't know.
Yes.
No, so I don't know. I haven't attended the last
Nobody.
classes.
Nobody remembers. Well, the fort of Zanjira had been a traditional stronghold of Siddhis, and the Siddhis, the Abyssinian people, they used to shift their loyalty. They were servant of Adil Shah. Now, as the Mughal became stronger, they shifted their loyalty towards Mughal, and it was a very strong fort, and it was very difficult to conquer. Shivaji has tried it. Later on, we see Sambhaji trying it without becoming successful. Shivaji had it in his mind that I should get Zanjira. Though Aurangzeb said no initially, no, very directly, but then Jai Singh has tried to convince ki you can go and directly meet Emperor. And this is a good opportunity that you can press on, try to convince him how important it is for you to hold Zanjira so that you can serve the Mughal more effectively. All this now Shivaji finally agrees. So he goes all around his forts, ensured that everything is put at the proper place, sets up the administrative structure, and then his correspondence through Jai Singh, it went on for a very long period. Finally, Aurangzeb agrees to pay even for the expenses of Shivaji's journey. 1 lakh rupees he agreed to pay from the treasury, imperial treasury, and a Mughal officer will accompany him. All the arrangement from all his journey from Maharashtra to Agra was made on the way. It was all Mughal Empire. So at the Mughal, Shivaji will stay. During those time, the journey used to take a lot of time. He started in I think in March and reaching in April or May. So it took almost 1.5 months. So Shivaji will stay at different places in between, and at every place, the proper arrangement suitable to the prince should be made for the stay of Shivaji. So all this arrangement was made, and then Shivaji starts for Agra. So this already I have discussed. Assurance of safety. Yeah, on 5th March, he starts from Rajgarh with Sambhaji. Now there are very few people, around 4,000 soldiers, and there were some nobles that includes Tanaji Malsare, Hiroji Farzad, then Sambhaji, who was very young boy of 10 years old, and they start on 5th of March and traveling through the whole of North India. They reaches Agra on 11th May. And the meeting was scheduled. The Darbar was supposed to be held on 12th May. That was 15th birthday of Aurangzeb. And uh, interestingly, somehow the things seems to be going wrong since beginning, because Shivaji reached Agra little late. Had he gone there 1 or 2 days earlier, probably things would have been settled down. But now, as next day itself celebration was about to happen, Ram Singh was very busy in preparation. He was supposed to look after certain responsibility, and Ram Singh could not meet him at Sarai. There was not no high official to welcome Shivaji at Sarai. Sarai is a place where people used to stay while traveling. There was no high official to welcome Shivaji, and this upset Shivaji. So beginning itself was not very right beginning, and the meeting. See that took place on 12th of May 1666 in the Darbar. Shivaji was very upset, and Ram Singh could not meet him due to confusion. Next day while going to Darbar, they are supposed to meet, but Shivaji went through another way, and Ram Singh went through another way. They could not make, and they actually met in the Darbar itself. They met in the Agra city, and then Shivaji, as time was it was going on, everything was started. Shivaji was taken directly to the court without giving any forewarning how to conduct yourself in the court. And There in the court, he presented Nazarana. That was a tradition. The people who are gathered in the court during the ceremony, they will present Nazarana. They will present gift to the emperor. The gift was given, and Aurangzeb, in fact, did not pay much attention to Shivaji. And after the presentation of Nazarana, usually the king used to give a robe of honor to the noble. That was also not presented to Shivaji, and Shivaji was made to stand in the line of Mansabdar of 5,000. And in front of him, at the higher line, there was a person called Jaswant Singh Rathod who fought in Deccan, and in fact, he was defeated by the Marathas, who ran away from the Marathas. He was standing in front of him, and this angered Shivaji. Shivaji asked Ram Singh where I am standing, and Ram Singh says, Ki, you are standing in the line of 5,000 Mansabdar. And he says, Ki, I am not Mansabdar of Aurangzeb, my son is Mansabdar. And who is this person? When he came to know that he is Jaswant Singh Rathod, he says, Jaswant Singh Rathod, who is defeated by my Marathas, and he is standing in front of me, and I am just standing at the back of him. And he gets very upset, and he leaves the darbar. According to one version, he leaves the darbar. According to another version, he sits there. During those days, the court etiquette did not allow anybody to sit in the court except emperor. Emperor will sit on his throne, and everybody has to be standing. As he sits in the throne, Aurangzeb inquires what happened, and Ram Singh tries to cover up. He says, he came from the hills of the Deccan, Shivaji, and he is neither aware of the etiquettes of the court in the Mughal, the Mughal court, as well as he is not used to this kind of heat. That was the May. And so he is feeling uneasy, and then Aurangzeb asks that Shivaji should be taken away. Another version says that Shivaji was very upset, and in anger, without taking permission from the emperor, he leaves and walks away. There is a small clipping of their meeting. I will just show you this. This I already told you, outburst, and so there is a small clipping of what actually happened in the court, and then there is a meeting between Aurangzeb and Shivaji, which is shown in that clipping, the Discovery of India's clipping, Bharat Dekh Khoj clipping. In fact, historians believe that this is the only meeting that Shivaji and Aurangzeb had, that is in the court. That was also only for a few moments, and after that, Aurangzeb forbade Shivaji from coming to the court. Aurangzeb was very upset with the way Shivaji has behaved. But in this video, there is a meeting between these two, and that will give you an idea about the personality of these two king. Aurangzeb was very cool and calculating, but very shrewd. And Shivaji, that kind of Maratha pride. We can see it in his behavior when he gets angry and upset and doesn't really bother for his life. So you see, he is in the heart of the Mughal Empire, but he is dare to show a kind of disrespect to Shivaji. Which is also shown by his son Sambhaji. Surprisingly, when we'll be discussing about Sambhaji, we'll discuss that even when Sambhaji was captured by Aurangzeb, he refused to bow his head. He stared at Aurangzeb, which was not liked by Aurangzeb, and Aurangzeb ordered that his eyes to be plucked out. That is a very tragic incident. We're discussing that. As of now, here we will be seeing Shivaji as well as his young son now in this small clipping. Just a minute. I will stop sharing this now, and then I will share what I should share this screen. Are you able to see the screen, guys? Hello.
Yes, sir.
This video is visible to
Sir.
you. I stop it. I'll start it again, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was that clear to you? Was it audible? Hello.
So I had network issues. I'll watch it again after the class.
Okay, okay. What about others? Was it audible?
No,
Not
not
clearly.
audible.
Huh? Jasmeet?
So it was the video was moving on the screen.
Pardon?
So probably it was my network issue. I don't know.
Okay. Minal, was it visible to you?
So it was visible, but it was not audible.
ऑडिबल नहीं था अच्छा अच्छा
हाँ.
ठीक है ठीक है well okay so in a nutshell somehow the meeting did not go very well and Shivaji did not like the way he was treated in the darbar and neither Aurangzeb liked Shivaji's behavior. He was an emperor of such a huge empire and nobody had courage dare to challenge him which Shivaji has done and that too in his own court. So Shivaji was, placed in the custody now. So he was imprisoned at, as Aurangzeb himself said, in a haveli, in a palace like house. And now Shivaji was at a loss what is to be done, and Aurangzeb was also at a loss what he should do with Shivaji, because he was very angry, and he says if I just allow Shivaji to do that was not Aurangzeb's character. Shivaji is quite troublesome, but if I kill him, there is another reaction, because Jai Singh and Ram Singh has taken guarantee of Shivaji's life. So if I kill him, probably the Rajputs may turn against me, and I will be also come out as a person who doesn't honor his word. Because before Shivaji starts for Agra, he was promised the safety of his life, and but there were now Shivaji was put in the prison for around 3 months, and there were different factions that were working in the Mughal court. For example, Shaista Khan's sister. If I told you while we were discussing Shaista Khan episode, that this reference to Shaista Khan will come again later when she was in Agra. Now, Shaista Khan's sister was married to Wazir Zafar Khan, and she was very upset that her brother was so insulted and attacked in his bedchamber by Shivaji. He has to lose his finger, and she poisons ear of her husband that you go and try to get Shivaji killed. Don't let him escape from here. So that was another faction. Similarly, Aurangzeb's sister Jahanara, she was given as a gift from Aurangzeb the revenue of Surat city. Surat was an important port city which used to earn lot of earning. She was very angry with Shivaji. What could be the reason? Can you tell me?
Repeat the question.
So Shivaji had a conquest to Surat in I think 1664.
Yeah, he looted Surat, and that
Yeah,
looting,
he looted.
that looting of
3/4 of Surat was burnt.
yeah, that looting of Surat and burning of Surat was greatly insulting, and she felt my city, which was like a gift to me, the revenue was gift to me, and it is being looted by Shivaji. So she also, try to influence Aurangzeb that Shivaji should not allow it to go back alive. Now, Shivaji, though he behaved in a quite imprudent manner in the court, well, there was one more faction who was working with Shivaji, that were Rathors. Rathors, the Rajputs of Jodhpur and Kachwa, where the Rajputs of Jaipur. They had a kind of enmity, and they were always vying for the prestige in the Mughal court. So as all these things has happened through Jai Singh, they also joined the court that were against Shivaji. That probably Jai Singh and Shivaji had some secret understanding, so on and so forth. Shaista Khan, he also wrote a letter to his sister, that is Zafar Khan's wife, that ensure that Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb is not meeting Shivaji alone, because Shivaji is a shaitan. He is a person who is having an extraordinary capacity. He knows magic, and he can jump 50 feet high, so on and so forth. So there will be a threat to Aurangzeb's life. And Aurangzeb, he was in any case, for variety of reason, not willing to meet Shivaji anymore. Shivaji was forbidden to come to the court. Of course, as a Mansabdar, Sambhaji did go to the court some of the time during these 3 months of time. And now let us go to the next. So now, Agra, the Kotwal of Agra, Police Kotwal, Fulat Khan, he was known to be a person of very cruel disposition, and he was asked to take Shivaji's charge. But Ram Singh was afraid that something will happen to Shivaji's life, and me and my father has taken guarantee of his life. How was the situation? That very close to Shivaji's house where Shivaji used to stay, he used to be mostly surrounded by Ram Singh's Rajput, and surrounding to them on that palace, on that haveli, there used to be the police and soldiers of Khalid Khan, that is the imperial soldier, and even Aurangzeb had also planned, conspired that I will send Shivaji on expedition to Afghanistan. I'll ask him to go with my army, and then on the way he will be killed. But Ram Singh opposed this. He said, "No, it's not right. I will not allow this thing to happen." And then Aurangzeb asked him, "Okay, then you take a guarantee that Shivaji will not run away." Because Shivaji was known to have this tendency to do this kind of daring exploits. And Ram Singh takes the guarantee that Shivaji will not run away. Uh, well, let us go to the next. And Shivaji, from his side, he tried for reconciliation. He went and met Wazir as well. But Wazir, he just gave him 5 minutes time and said, "Okay, fine, I'll just communicate what you wish to say to the emperor," and dismisses it. So Shivaji now understood that he is now surrounded, and Aurangzeb waited for a few days, and then the order came that now Shivaji is to be shifted from his present house to the palace of Farooq Khan, and Shivaji now understood that his end has come near. So now, if something has to be done, it has to be done urgently. But Shivaji, he is a person who is not just sit quiet and wait for the date to come. He is a person who knew that now I have to use certain tricks to get out from here. So he pretended to be sick. He pretended to be ill. And I'll show you another clipping of old Marathi black and white movie where he pretended to be sick and how he escapes. After some time, let me first narrate the episode. So, he pretended to be sick, and to get the blessing of the fakir and sadhu and the holy person, he starts sending sweets and fruit. And, those used to be the very big baskets which used to be carried by two-person. And that he started sending every day, started buying them from the market. He had certain men with him. He also asked Aurangzeb that let most of his men go back to Maharashtra, and Aurangzeb thought that is good. Shivaji's strength will be further reduced. So he, all those men were sent back from Agra, but some of them went to Maharashtra. Some of them, they had a plan. They stayed outside the city somewhere. They planned how Shivaji will escape. Now, these baskets, as this it started going towards to the holy people. Initially, the chowkidar used to check it thoroughly, but slowly they become bit slack. They do that it is a daily routine, daily twice morning and evening. This big basket goes. And one fine day, probably the story is known to the people, most of the people. One fine day, Shivaji and his son Shivaji sits in one basket, and Sambhaji sits in another basket, and they escapes from this Agra confinement. Uh, this is and before that, Shivaji also asked Ram Singh to cancel his guarantee. This is over. I have already told you this. This is also. And before escaping, his another servant, Hiroji Farsan, who was resembling Shivaji, he dressed up like Shivaji and sleeps on his bed. So that clipping we will see now. Are you able to see this?
Yes, sir.
It is in Marathi, but you can you will remember the episode if you see this. Oh, well, could you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You know that was a very old Marathi movie, but now I hope you will remember that Shivaji has escaped from Agra by sitting in the basket of fruit, and he was carried to further distance, and there already his men were ready with the horses that he said earlier, and then he and his son mounted the horses, but he knew that he will be chased by the Mughal very soon, the moment they found out. And in fact, Aurangzeb came to know about Shivaji's escape next day only. One day, the people were in dark, and then the evidences point out that Aurangzeb has really planned to execute Shivaji. He was to be shifted away from the custody of Ram Singh, and then it would be easy for him to execute. Now, Aurangzeb was very upset with Ram Singh. Ram Singh Mansab was reduced. He was forbidden to attend the court, and it was rumored that it was with the consent of Ram Singh, tactful consent might be, that Shivaji has escaped. And after 25 days of journey, Shivaji disguised sometimes as a sadhu, sometimes as fakir. He reaches his place Rajgarh, and at Rajgarh, he gives out the news that his son has died on the way. Sambhaji has died on the way, but he has not died. Shivaji, instead of directly traveling from Agra towards south, obviously the Mughal soldier will chase him. He went towards north, stays at Mathura for 2 days, and at Mathura he hands over his son to an trusted Maratha Brahmin family who were staying at Mathura. All those pilgrimage places used to have a Brahmin family from Maharashtra. In fact, some of them are at Banaras as well. So, as the child, Sambhaji was handed over to them, and later on, Shivaji goes back to Rajgarh, even conducts Shraddha to deceive the Mughal, conduct the Shraddha of his son. That is a ceremony performed for the dead. And it is a few months after that that Maratha family they migrate to Maharashtra with the whole family, and they take this Sambhaji with them as their own son, and Sambhaji also reaches safely to Maharashtra. Aurangzeb has really regretted throughout his life that Shivaji has escaped from his hand. And Jai Singh, how he reacts, Jai Singh say he was very upset how the things turns out, and then he writes to Wazir Khan that I will propose that there should be a marriage between my son and Shivaji's daughter, and once he comes for negotiation, I will get him murdered. So you see the moral downfall of Jai Singh. But Aurangzeb was also upset with Jai Singh, and Aurangzeb says him, you come to the northern side, and then but he starts his journey, but Jai Singh dies at Burhanpur. So these are the two this is the important episode in Shivaji and Mughal relationship, that his visit to Agra and his escape from there. So we are stopping here for today, and further discussion about the Mughal and Shivaji relationship we will take up in the next class. Any doubt you have so far, let me know. Yes.
So I have one.
Yeah. Please tell me.
So I was not able to listen after Mathura. Where did Shivaji go?
Yeah, from Mathura, actually, there is an ambiguity about the route that Shivaji has taken to go to Maharashtra. But Mathura is a place that he has gone. So, the people try to trace out, but I cannot give a very precise information. Now. I have to read a little bit more about it. But it is said that from Mathura through, the present day Gondwana region, that is Bilaspur, and through the Adil Shahi, then he reaches to Maharashtra. So exactly tracing his route, I'm not as of now. Do not know it. I'll find out on it. Right.
Okay, okay, sir.
But after escaping from Agra, it is after 25 days of journey that he reaches to Maharashtra. Anything else? Yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll close the meeting for today then. We'll close the class for today.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay then. Bye. Have a nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.